Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo. We're here with some more Arma 3 Zeus. This is going to be a little bit different. It's not really going to be a live commentary. It's most definitely not a live commentary. I kind of just wanted to highlight some of the key moments from our last Arma session. You guys may have also saw one of those key moments, which was Hell's running out of stamina. The new stamina system inside of Arma 3, I like it, but I think it's a little bit overkill currently and needs to be tweaked just a tiny bit, especially considering the scale of the Arma maps, and it's just too much right now. But apart from that, I wanted to show you guys sort of my active thought process during this Zeus mission, because this is one of those missions where I didn't have a lot of time to set up in advance, and I was also trying to create really key sort of dynamic moments, I guess you could say, on the fly, because what my actual goal here was to make sure that this mission was enjoyable, but at the same time, the beginning of the mission was going to require me to not actually have the players engage anyone, apart from maybe some civilians, but I actually ended up changing my mind on that a little bit later on. I didn't want them to engage any Op4, but I wanted them to feel threatened. And the number one way I did that was by making it pitch black dark and equipping them only with flashlights. Now, the background story behind what is currently going on is they were actually doing a flashback, essentially, from their current team, and they were going to play the role of a SAS force that was actually doing an operation at the exact same time they were doing an operation from the following week. So this was sort of like, you know, what was happening in a different part of the world. And this Special Forces team was tasked with actually capturing and securing an HVT who had already given himself up. They had a meeting point, and basically they had been told that they were to, by no means, or by any means, ensure that no one knew of their existence on the island. So whatever they had to do, whether it be killing each other or killing civilians, to just make sure that no one knew that they existed, that they were never seen there. Now, things ended up changing a little bit during the end of the mission, but that was their initial goal. That is what I had originally told them. So I actually had them trekking through this rather dark section of forest, and my plan was just to have a couple small sort of events occur. And the biggest one was what you're seeing right here. So I actually decided I was going to place down a single Op4 unit who was kind of set up on a small outpost by himself, and I went into the virtual arsenal and equipped him with the flashlight, which I want to thank somebody who actually gave me a script recently, or informed me of a way that you could make the AI work with a flashlight. It took us a while to figure it out, but we did actually get it working just last night.
Take a look at the AI. Are they using their flashlight?
I actually had to equip him with a flashlight, but then the plan was to go ahead and actually use this soldier just to, again, create a small dynamic moment in the mission where the team would be put on edge and hopefully raise tension, the overall tension of the mission, and just put them, you know, make them a little bit more aware to the situation, even though ultimately I wasn't actually going to have them engage any enemy threats. So let's kind of just see what happens here once this whole thing goes down. So campfires are something that I like to use a lot. Actually, not a lot, but there's good moments for them, especially in a nighttime mission, even when the team's running night vision goggles. Setting up a little campfire in the middle of the forest, especially in a civilian-populated area, and perhaps having some civilians, some farmers or hunters camping around the campfire can really do a lot. Just for, you know, it's just a nice little twist to the mission, you know, letting the team sort of run into something that may be considered a threat, have to identify it, and then choose how to actually encounter it. So in this case, my plan was to actually, you know, sort of walk outside, go on a small patrol around the building with my flashlight, and then get on the ATV and actually leave my post as if I was called away.
West.
Yeah, to the west.
Yeah, west.
More flashlights.
Flashlights. Just went around the back of the house. On a quad bike.
Again, making sure to use the lights on the actual ATV and not using the night vision goggle of the AI just provides you know, a really great moment of tension for the players on the ground. They saw the flashlights, you know, they became immediately concerned. We can't afford to be spotted. Now an ATV is leaving. The ATV possibly could have ran into their path. The funny thing about Zeus is sometimes things don't go according to plan. Luckily, I was out of sight, so the team didn't actually see me wreck my ATV and then actually flip the ATV over a moment later onto a rock. But luckily I was just able to delete that AI altogether. There wasn't really any concern for him later on. I had actually originally planned to have the ATV sort of left somewhere, and my everything just ended up changing. This is something that often happens with Zeus. Mistakes are made as Zeus. You're multitasking. crash a vehicle into a rock, you spawn the wrong enemy down, the team gets engaged, and sometimes you just have to sort of go with the flow.
Starting to get light out.
Or perhaps even tell the team, like, ignore that, it was a mistake. And this was one of those missions where I actually had a lot of those situations. You might see a couple of them a little bit later on as we move to this mission where I really did make some mess-ups. And it just happens. No matter how much planning you do, or how detailed your planning is when you're coming up with a Zeus mission, or even if you're just doing it on the fly and you think you have everything put together, there still can be some serious problems along the way. Now, the other point of this whole operation that they're on, this Traveling Light campaign, is that there's this really underlying tone of deceit and deception, and no one really knows who they are. All they know is they're essentially these special forces teams tasked to do these goals, but at the same time, I am trying to give them the impression that there are actually other forces operating, even in the same vicinity as them, with a completely different set of plans that are lacking knowledge to the same extent that they are. So my idea for this mission was to actually have a single Blue 4 unit, sort of a Solid Snake or Sam Fisher, who was actually going around, you know, on his own little agenda, and that was the point of spawning this Special Forces Blue 4 soldier here, who's actually equipped with one of the same loadouts as the other team, and that was very intentional. The idea being that if they spotted him, they would recognize him possibly as a friendly, and then he would sort of vanish. Now, I did make one vital mistake here in not realizing that I had a suppressor on my weapon. I was like, why is it so quiet? Again, I was sort of lost in the moment as Zeus, completely unaware that I had the suppressor on. Finally take the suppressor off, fire 2 precise loud shots. And of course the team then identifies that they've heard those shots. Now it's going to make the situation much more interesting when they arrive at that tent. Had they just had Riven at the tent and there was dead bodies, they would have said there's dead bodies. This time they heard 2 rounds fired. They haven't seen any, enemies in the area except for that soldier on the ATV. They weren't actually able to identify him. They actually are questioning each other. Does one of us shoot? Who shot? Who was that? And then they're going to stumble upon the campsite to find 2 dead bodies. It adds a little bit of mystery. And when you're doing these sort of missions that, again, are based less around combat, or at least segments of a mission that are based less around combat, I find stuff like this to be very interesting. To me, it is the kind of thing that I personally would like to be involved with. If I was on the ground experiencing it, would be a fun moment. I mean, you can even at moments literally take an entire squad and then make them walk through the dark with nothing but flashlights while escorting an HVT for 25-30 minutes. And that's actually a pretty enjoyable experience, if done right, if treated right. And again, using a lot of these small moments to sort of raise tension and spark a little bit of excitement as things go. Make a normally dull situation just a little bit more exciting. And adrenaline always helps to increase the excitement of any mission. So they've now found the 2 dead bodies. 2 dead bodies. They're all like, oh, what happened? 2 dead bodies. So basically, the team does end up arriving at the HVT, and they end up securing him. I then give them a completely new goal, which is to actually go ahead. Actually, let's see what happened here. There was one more mistake I made before this. I was again trying to spawn in that same soldier. The idea being that he had moved forward to the HVT, and what he was actually going to do was hide in the back of the cube truck, this small little cube van here. And then I realized that the game doesn't actually allow you to hide in the back of the cube van. There's only 3 seats in it, actually. The back can't be opened, and I was completely devastated because my idea was to hide in the truck and then pop out at another point in time, or perhaps even have the team search the truck and find this unit who would then be questioned. There was a lot of options that I was thinking through when I had this situation going down. Sadly, none of them worked out. The team actually ended up spotting this guy, and then I just removed him. So a little bit of mystery there, and the team does actually make their way. As I said, they grabbed the HVT, and I began constructing a new sort of mission objective for them. Now that they had the HVT in their hands and they actually had a vehicle, the idea behind the remainder of the mission was that they were going to need to escort the HVT off the island. So I had created a small seaport near the edge of the ocean that was populated with Op-4. They were going to have to eliminate all the Op-4 in the area, again making sure that no one was able to make radio contact with any outside Op-4 units, and then escape on one of the Op-4 boats off the island with the HVT. Now to start this off, the team was actually getting relatively close to the objective at this point, and I wanted to have a sort of suicide bomber setup where there was a group of civilians who actually run into the base, cause an explosion, destroy a building, then giving the team a sort of open window to engage, making things again just a little bit more exciting. So we'll see the car is going to go ahead, smash straight through the wall, into the building. I'm going to back out into Zeus, detonate the vehicle. That's going to cause a pretty decent sized explosion. That's going to knock down the building. And then at this point, I actually also went and added 2 more explosives because I wanted it to seem like it was a vehicle that was packed with explosives. It's going to set off 2 more larger explosions, killing the targets on the road, essentially lightening and softening the enemy forces in that area to the point where I felt the team wouldn't have any serious trouble engaging, while they could still make mistakes and they could still die. The idea was to balance things out just a little bit. And also, again, to create that extra layer of excitement. So that goes down, and you'll hear the team vocally actually saying, okay, we should move in while there's chaos.
I said we move in while there's confusion.
Weapons free.
At this point, they start advancing, they start clearing out the base, doing what they have to do. And at one point, there was actually 2 civilians on the map that we're going to see in a little bit who are being held hostage by the Op-4, and I decided to do something pretty interesting with them. But in the meantime, there was one more Op-4 soldier that I was actually about to take control of to get him out of this building. He finally started firing to the window, and then he did the ultimate Op-4 fail, and he went prone on the ground. So I finally got him to stand up by wounding him. That sometimes seems to work if the actual stand-up command doesn't work. Yet he was still in the building at this point, and I thought it would be fun. Now the team had recognized that there was actually civilians, and they thought there was one more Op-4 target, to make it seem as if the civilians had overpowered the last remaining Op-4 soldier and then stolen their vehicle and started to actually engage the Op-4, providing assistance to the Blue 4. This actually turned out relatively well. Everybody got a pretty good laugh out of it. However, there was one small thing that does go wrong with this, but let's just watch this unfold.
So, what are you doing?
Come on. Seriously, I got hurt jumping into the water 6 feet.
Why is this guy prone?
Is everybody in the boat?
No. This guy is acting all weird.
Okay, so what happened at this point was the team was questioning whether or not they should actually engage the civilians who were assisting them. Someone fired a round at them, which then immediately made the civilians become enemies with them. So when I actually backed out, I knew at this point that they were going to start engaging friendlies. I had to delete the vehicle, sadly kind of ruining the whole setup, but sometimes things like that happen. I deleted them, however, the civilians did manage to kill one more of their teammates, so that kind of all went to hell. Now, the rest of this mission goes relatively smoothly, except for a ton of issues with Arma being absolutely ridiculous about people getting inside of vehicles because someone had engaged friendly and they had become a team killer, even though no one actually had actually done that. There was all of this chaos and distortion. But actually, eventually, at the end, the team finally escapes on a set of boats. And my plan for this was that the team was never actually going to make it out of there alive. This team was essentially destined for failure and for death. And as they attempt to leave the island in the Op-4 boats, they are actually engaged by several armored assault boats, which then pretty much annihilate the remainder of the team. And I actually give them a mission complete, and I pretty much just said, your story ends here. So that's all that we know about the existence of this Special Forces group that was on this separate mission. Now, I do actually have a plan to bring these guys back. There's going to be some just a very fun little twist, you know, nothing super original, but I think something that'll be very enjoyable. And I'm not going to talk about that because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who's actually playing the campaign, and I think you guys will actually enjoy to see where this goes down the road. So I'm definitely going to try and make this a weekly thing, actually, you know, updating you guys on what's going on with the Traveling Light campaign. Next week I'll probably be focusing a little bit more on actually doing a live commentary for things. And I think, you know, there's so much good footage to be captured here. There's so many good discussions I can have regarding Zeus based around these videos that I definitely want to do more of them. And I know a lot of people are really enjoying them. I actually find them very enjoyable to come back and watch. So you can definitely expect to see more of this here on the channel. If you guys have any questions about anything that you have seen here in the video or anything that I'm doing with Zeus or any questions about Zeus in general, as always, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And I'll see you in the next one.